If we desire respect for the law, we must first make the law respectable. You're welcome to Regnum Continuous Education. My name is Ruth Obu. I'll be right back after a short break. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, you're still watching Regnum Continuous Legal Education. Once again, my name is Ruth Obu. And today's topic, we'll be talking about the role of private persons in the arrest and prosecution of offenders under the law part 3. Recall that we have been on this for 3 consecutive outings. I'm not doing this alone. I'm here with the regular faces. Yes, I'd like to start with Christ Ambassador Barrister Kenneth Itorabasi. This is the father. How are you?
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Welcome, viewers.
Okay, you're welcome. And we also have in our midst Christ Ambassador Barrister Idara Ebo. Welcome. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Peace of the Father. You're all welcome.
Peace. How are you doing?
We thank the Father.
How prepared are you for today's
The Father
episode?
does his jobs.
Okay, on this program we'll be talking about everything legal matters. So get your pen, get everything set. Do not leave your TV set, because if you snooze, you're going to lose. Remember, this is Nigeria. You need to know everything. You need to know your rights, So without much ado, recall that we have been on this. So last time we talked about the role of private person pertaining to the arrest and prosecution of an offender, and we were not done with that because we were running out of time, so we needed to go so we can come back today stronger. And yes, we are back stronger. Okay, I would like to give the house to Barrister Kenneth to take it up from there.
Yes. Good evening, viewers. On our last outing, we spoke about who is a private person. So let us start from there. But before we continue, let us answer some backlog of questions that were asked by our viewers. We gave part question, part answers. So let's complete those, answer those questions. The first question I'd like to answer is the issue of the delinquent crime by persons, that by children, persons on below the age of 17, where we said that they have a place where they can be kept, that their own prison or correctional center is not the regular prison. And we also spoke about the issue of when judgment is to be delivered, whether it is the date at which the crime was committed or the date at which the delivery of judgment is done. So we have gone in and found out that it is the date of the commission of the offense. That even if the matter gets to the Supreme Court, the law as at the time when the offense was committed is what is applied in delivery of judgment against the juvenile. That is the first one. Then then you asked about whether there is no law that regulates compensation of persons that are unlawfully or falsely arrested. We also have an answer to that under section 35 subsection 6 of the 1999 Constitution, any person that is unlawfully arrested or falsely arrested, detained and molested is entitled to compensation, monetary compensation and public apology. And for that we have the case of IGP and Bello. When I say IGP and Bello, I say IGP versus. That is what you might understand. So IGP and Bello, or against Bello, 2023, 1 Nigeria Weekly Law Report, part 1865, page 265 at page 278, where the court of appeal held that if a person is unlawfully arrested and detained, that the provisions of section 35 subsection 6 will be put into use in calculating due compensation, and then that the person that wrongly arrested and detained, that person will be responsible for the compensation and the public apology.
Okay, you know, I'm not a barrister, so those chapters.
No, it's for the benefit of the practitioners.
Practitioners.
Yes, IGP and Bello, 2023, 1 Nigeria Weekly Law Report, part 1865, page 265 at 278, holding number 7. The practitioners understand. You would understand.
Whereas I'm here, I think I have rights to also.
No, you understand section 35 sub 6. You should be okay with that.
Okay, there is no problem.
Then Mrs. Gladys Onyabo asked a question which I gave part treatment. She asked and said, what normally happens that sometimes that people that were not at the scene of a crime, they didn't commit a crime, that most times they go in for it. And I gave some reasons. One of them I said was being at the wrong place at the wrong time. I also spoke about relationships, where somebody is on Facebook with a friend, doesn't know the person, has not met the person before, but is on Facebook with this person and have been chatting. I also spoke about students who leave their school to go stay with their friends without the knowledge of their parents. That in that kind of situation, maybe they are supposed to go and learn a trade or be in school, they left those places that they can meet danger. Then the other reason I gave was, okay, I didn't mention this, so let me start from there, is identification parade. There are some people that look so much like some other person that if they are both not sitting here, you might mistake Mr. A for Mr. B.
Yes.
And that is why the identification parade at the police is a very serious issue. They normally conduct what we call identification parade, so that the person that actually was suspected to have committed that offense will be identified by the victim, because normally a situation occurs where you see two people, the semblance is so striking that if it is just a passport or the photograph, you might confuse Mr. A with Mr. B. And under the circumstance, like I said in our last meeting, that police act according to the evidence before them.
What about the same name?
Yeah, sometimes the same name. So those are the issues. Fingerprint, but the only thing that will distinguish, because no two fingerprints are the same, the only thing that will distinguish between the two, if the offense that was committed were left fingerprints at the scene of the crime, maybe that is what might exculpate the other person. Because when they go to fingerprints, no two people in this world have the same fingerprint. So maybe that is what may exculpate. But when it comes to the face, the body, it might like, this is him now. You understand? Then another reason why somebody may not be at the scene of a crime, but he might go in for it, is when somebody is running away from God's work. When you are running away from God's work. I have a story on that. When you are running away from God's work, it happened to Jonah. He ran away from God's work. He refused to go and do what God asked him. And then when he got there, a fish swallowed him and took him to where God wanted him to be. And today I want to ask a question, because I had said that a private person is either a natural or an artificial person. Natural person as in a human being, a mammal, which that fish was. And the question I'm asking today is whether that fish qualifies as a private person under the law. In that circumstance, that Jonah ran away from working for God, he entered the ship, there was tempests, You know, if it was in today's world, they would have said it's superstition. But the people in that canoe realized that there was something wrong, and there was somebody that was bringing that ill luck to them. If you read Jonah's gospel, you will see it. And so they now said, let us cast lot. And they cast the lot, and it fell on Jonah. And they said, okay, what do we do? He said, okay, just throw me. Throw me into the water so that people can continue your journey safe and sound. But God sent a big fish to swallow him and take him to Nineveh where he sent him. Now the question today is that fish a private person in the circumstance of the definition that we have given? And if you ask me, I will answer in the affirmative. Yes, that fish was a private person because God created everything in heaven and on earth. And all those things will answer him when he calls on them. Or once he calls on anything, death, sickness, whatever, wind, they will answer him. And so that fish was on point to answer God. Yes. He said, where is that Jonah now? He said, he's in the water. I said, bring him.
He's in my territory.
Yes! He's right here with me. He said, bring him. So, those that run away from the work of God might meet danger. And in order for me to answer that question to the end, I had that kind of situation. I think it was in Akwa Ibom State. And maybe the person that was affected may be laughing now. Because I think whether they came for buyer, but there was a program which they came for, and the sister went to a party rather than going for that program. And right there was a problem, and they were arrested. And unfortunately, the people that even fomented the trouble were released on bail. They refused to release her. So I was involved. I got there, and I was even begging the police officers, please. They said, no, we are not releasing this person. That she's the cause of the entire problem. I was like, how? From your statement, she is not the one that caused the entire. You have even released the main people that caused the problem. And then one of the police officers came in and said, this person, which church does she even attend? And she now said, BCS. He said, but I saw your people today. There were many all over. So you want to say you left going for that program to go for a party and you say you are not a criminal? Please detain this person. She's a criminal. You understand? At that circumstance, if you want to look at it, you see, God has led one thing to another and led some other thing to some other thing to show that person that because God cares about what we do, how we sleep, what we eat. God, he cares. So he wanted to let him know that he wanted her at the program. But because she did that, God just wanted to use that to teach her a little lesson so that next time she doesn't do that again. You understand? The people that fomented the trouble were let go. I'm telling you, they were released. She was the only one they refused to release. Such to the point that I got involved as a lawyer, and then the issue of the church came in, and the police officers who already knew that Brotherhood were having, a program within the state, and then asking her, so you want to say you are not a criminal? You left the program. I saw all people wearing white over to go to a party, and you say you are not a criminal? So it took a lot of pleading before they could release her. And I'm sure that sister will never have gotten.
She has washed her.
Yes. So sometimes
she knows now better that her destiny does not.
Yes, Josali, yes. So most time for some people, God has asked you to do a particular thing. You have refused. It is God that owns that police. It is God that owns that problem. Yes, it is God that owns that. No, yes. It is God that owns that problem. That problem is a private person.
Yes.
In the circumstances. It is God that owns that problem. So where is that person now? They say he said go and bring him. One thing about those angels is that once God gives them, they are not like us. They don't disobey. Where is he? They say he's inside the bus. He say capsize that bus. Very simple. And the person will come out. You find out that the person will, nothing will do the person. You won't be hot. It's just that at the end of the day, you will stand there and now say, oh, today we had spirited fellowship meeting. I didn't go. See where I'm standing now.
Yes.
Fellowship meeting, I didn't go. House, I didn't get to. Why am I here? You ask yourself that question, and then next time, you will try as much as possible in whatever circumstance to realize that the entire world belongs to a being, and that being can call on anybody to answer him at any time. And then we said, we spoke about that the role of a private person in the arrest and prosecution of offenders is multifaceted. And we said that that there are 4 major roles a private person can play in the arrest and prosecution of offender under the law. And we said information gathering, and we have spoke about that just now, where God will ask, where is that, okay, let me not use my name, where is that Barrister Kenneth? And they said this, he said bring him. You understand? Those angels would have gathered that information. Let's use the angels as private persons in the circumstances. So it is information gathering to forestall and prevent the commission of a crime. Then we said to assist the law enforcement agencies in the arrest of offenders, especially where the offense is committed in their presence. And then we said 3, to ensure compliance with law and order in the handling of suspects and accused persons, especially to avoid jungle justice. We said that. And then we said to serve as witnesses for the prosecution throughout the period of the case. And then when it comes to witnesses, these witnesses are of different types and categories. It might be an accomplice, it might be a co-accused. Their testimony is equally valuable in the court, either as a co-accused, both of them were charged with some offense, or an accomplice. There is also an expert witness. For instance, in the case of rape, an expert witness is one, maybe a medical doctor, that will come in and examine and then testify on what he see could have been the possible cause of maybe the rupture of the private part of the victim. And then we have child witness. That is people that are below the age of 17 or 18, as the case may be. Then we have what we call tainted witnesses. A tainted witness is a person that has an interest to serve in the case. Let me give you an example. I have a son, and I know God forbid, I know that my son has itchy fingers, that he might possibly have been the one that stole. And then I come in to testify to protect that my son. I'm just giving an example. It doesn't happen. I came in to testify to protect that my son, so that nobody will even look my son's way, that he must have committed the offense. I am a tainted witness in this circumstance. Then we have what we call agent provocateur.
Say that again, please.
Agent provocateur.
Okay.
Agent provocateur is people that join in committing an offense so that they end up testifying against the offender. You see, the other one is co-accused. The other one is not, he didn't do it to use it against. You see, the difference between co-accused and agent provocateur is that in the case of a co-accused, he didn't do it to use it against. They didn't go to steal so that he will use it against. But in the case of agent provocateur, it must have been said that Mr. Tatum is a serious armed robber. Let me just give you an example. Maybe the police now decide to add somebody to him. So maybe they midway they are smoking Indian hemp, for instance. He joins him in smoking, they have discussions, and then let's say, for instance, he now tells the agent provocateur now tells you a story of how he killed the other person. And he said, "Oh, were you the one that killed that man?" I was even the one that stole his car. I wanted to kill him, but before I got there, he has already died. So I stole the car. Where is the car now? I'm the one that killed the idiot too. You understand? I said, "Where is the car?" I sold it to Mr. James. You understand? This man is a police officer or a law enforcement agent or an informant. Like in other crimes where they have informants. They are not actually police officers per se, but they know that both of us are very good friends. So I am paid to tell you and then bring back the information of what I got. So those kind of persons, once they are testifying, they are agent provocateurs, because they are being used so that they can gather enough information. Maybe sometimes while the person is talking, he is being videoed. So that when it comes, you understand, what happens is just to tender the evidence of the video where he was that is what we call confessional statement. That is what we call confessional statement under the Evidence Act. Because what he said it out of passion, out of sincerity, that he was talking to a fellow criminal.
Counterpart.
Yes, not knowing that the person is an informant. It is different from a co-accused, who they went out together, committed the offense together, they were arrested together, and then they are testifying what happened. This one, at the end of the day, the agent provocateur will not be punished, but the criminal will be punished.
Yes.
So, when we talk about witnesses, those are the kind of witnesses that we have. We have expert witness, we have child witness, we have agent provocateur, we have co-accused, we have accomplices. So all these people will come in to testify of what
you mentioned. Is it tainted or?
Yeah, tainted witness. Yeah,
Yes.
there are tainted witnesses. Thank you very much. You are a good listener. Then I also talked about the evidence. I mean, the witness or evidence of a company. I said that in the event that the people that were victims are company, they are company or companies, that they are the ones, that it is that company that has the right to redress against the wrong that is being done in. And I cited the case of Force against her bottle, or Force and her bottle, 1843 2 hair 461. That is a common law rule, a common law situation. What we call, that was the locus classicus, to say that company, you are a juristic person, you are an artificial person. So if somebody does anything to you, registered trustees of Brotherhood of the Cross and Star, you can redress that wrong. You understand? That is the only thing you do, is that you have an alter ego, what we call alter ego. So Ruth Obu, you are the alter ego of the registered trustees. In the event that this laptop is stolen now, you are the one to testify. But the real people that are sending you to testify is Starcross. You understand? So if Starcross is not registered separately, then it is the registered trustees of the Brotherhood of the Cross and Star. You will only be a witness to the registered trustees. Now that was a common law rule. Now in Nigeria, in the case, I said that in the case of only the company, it is only the company that has the right to redress the wrong done to it. Thus, in a case of a crime against the company, it is the company itself that can prosecute the offender. Okay? By providing a witness to that effect. Now, see the recent Nigerian case of Abacha. Abacha against Attorney General of the Federation and 4 others. 2023, 4 Nigeria Weekly Law Reports, part 1874, page 401 at 406, held 3 and 4. That is for the benefit of the practitioners. Abacha against Attorney General of the Federation and others, and 4 others, 2023, 4 Nigeria Weekly Law Report, part 1874, 401 and 406, held 3 and 4. Now, under section 40, subsection 1, we said that when you arrest an offender, you should hand over to the police. Where a private person arrests an offender, you should hand over to the police immediately. And as we go down, we are going to look at the liabilities of a private person in the event that you don't hand over immediately. In the event that you don't hand over immediately, we are going to look at the liabilities. I don't know if my learned friend has something to add before we continue.
Well, on aspect of private person arresting any other person, see, law is check and balances. The law always provide a means, the way to go about it, where on the process of executing or obeying the law, you go outside the law, then you are expected to account for the wrong aspect of it. That is the law, except some people that may have immunity. Yes.
Like the governor
well, the governor, the president, even some officials may have a very minor. In such situation, except the constitutional immunity of the governor and the president, office of the governor, office of the president, when it's office, the deputy governor, the vice president, all have immunities. But there are some situations that an executive, what do you mean by executive, government establishment or whatever, that carry out certain functions, the law will look at it critically to assess, even if this man has stepped outside the bound, is he or she has done it so wrong, so that it may be punished. So, as you are saying, when a private person arrests any other person, such person should be able to work within the confines of the law by, within the shortest possible time, take the person to the police station or any law enforcement agency. Because as a person, I should not arrest an individual and go and detain in my house. The statute provides where to detain and arrest a person. So whether it's a church, individual, companies, they don't have right to arrest a person and detain that person. Even if, when it's talk of detention, even 1 minute detention could be serious. Because if you have such a detention, is you have infringed on somebody's liberty. So that is the little we may have for now.
Okay, so what happens if the delayance is being caused naturally? Maybe the car got bad, so you couldn't take the person straight to the station, you know, to hand over to the authority. What happens?
Well, you see, well, law always make provisions for exceptions, and that is, in such a situation, that is what we call act of God in law. Something that is outside one's control. The natural event, like you rightly mentioned, vehicle spoil on the way. In such a situation, the law does not expect you to carry the person on your head and drag the person. There must be a means of conveying the person to the detention facility or to the police. So in such situations, the court will look at the facts surrounding each situation before the court give a decision one way or the other.
Okay, I still have another question for you.
Yes.
So in a situation whereby you arrest a criminal and on your way to the station...
Please don't call anybody criminal. It's a suspect.
It's a suspect.
It's a suspect.
Sorry, I've forgotten where I am.
Yes.
Okay, well, in a situation whereby you arrest the suspect,
Yes.
yes, on your way to the station to hand over to the right authority, the suspect's counterpart comes after the vehicle, maybe blows the tire, you know, because they want to get their person back. If this person gets to the station, it's going to leak their secret. So they go after the vehicle with all amount of, you know, force. What I mean by force, they go fully armed. You know, they target the tire, they shoot for a flat tire, then maybe they kill and, you know, maybe they leave one person just so you can open the, I don't know how they call it, open and give them back.
Yes.
They are suspects,
Yes.
be their counterpart. What do you think would happen there?
Well, in such a situation, the people that are providing safety for the suspect have also violated the law, because constitutionally, each and every person supposed to maintain the law and order. Is supposed to help law enforcement agencies to maintain law and order. So we are in a situation that my friend is being arrested, and I see that I can overpower police to get my friend out of the problem. I've offended the law, and the law will go after me one way or the other.
We answered that question last time. Let me remind.
Thank you very much, Barrister.
Okay, sorry. Let me remind you that we answered that question last time. We talked about obstruction of course of justice, and in order not to mention names, it's even happening even as we speak. somebody is alleged to have committed an offense, and another person tried to talk to one of the suspects. I mean, you try to talk to one of the witnesses. He just tried to talk to one of the witnesses. Maybe wanted to find out, what happened. How come you are bringing up this kind of allegation, and the person is also charged. So the answer to that question is very simple. Even if you are being attacked in the process of taking a suspect to hand over to the police, to the law enforcement agents, and then you are being attacked, the person is carried away, go ahead, go and lodge your complaint that so person, look at what happened. At the end of the day, we're coming on the way. The police that know their ways and means of detecting crime might eventually one day, not too long, call you and say, is this a group of people that attacked you that day you arrested that Mr. Okun?
Okay.
You understand? So you don't relent.
Okay.
You actually go ahead and then inform the police that somebody stole maybe a tuber of yam, and you were conveying him to the police station. Some guys come up, attacked, destroyed their vehicle and carted him away. They will still investigate that matter and may come up with something very positive. So you don't relent.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So
Yes.
we are progressing.
Yes, so there are liabilities on persons. I even thought you would want to ask about if the person dies in the process of trying to either convey, or maybe you were working in an establishment, and then you were expecting the manager to come before they convey the person, maybe after having asked a few questions to set a few questions to him, or after what we call a review, maybe waiting for your manager to come so that they can review the patient and then send him to the law enforcement agent, and then in the process the person dies.
What happens?
And then maybe the offense that he committed is, let's call it a bailable offense. Maybe, like I said, he stole a tuber of yam, and then in the process of keeping him to wait for the next directive, the person dies. That is what we are looking at. So there are liabilities.
How then are you going to be able to get the truth from this person?
There are liabilities. The person is dead. The law will not look at the offense anymore. The law will now look at the commission of another offense, which is in the process of trying to assist the law enforcement agents, that a person is dead or a person died in the process. I don't know if you are getting me. We are looking at the liabilities of a private person in the process of trying to help the law enforcement agents. And that is why that section 40 subsection 1 says hand over that person immediately to the law, because anything can happen between the period they shout tifo, 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 and the period the person gets to the police station. A myriad of things can happen which may not be palatable to the person that wanted to assist the law enforcement agent to arrest an offender. You understand?
Yes.
Now, security is everybody's business, and so every person, whether in the private or public sector, must collaborate to ensure that the society is safe and secure. However, in the process of assisting law enforcement agencies in fighting crime, a person not authorized by law can be liable for the following offenses. Now, we have trespass to person, what we call assault, battery, and enforced imprisonment. Assault and battery, maybe you touch the person, or maybe you threaten the person. Maybe you touch the person, it becomes battery. Maybe you throw the person inside this room and lock the door, it becomes false imprisonment. Now, assault is both a thought and a crime, and is usually committed by the application of physical force. That is, we are now talking about assault now. Okay. It is both a thought and a crime, and is usually committed by the application of physical force on another person, or an attempt to do so without lawful justification. So not just that you hit the person. If just tell him I will slap you, is assault. Okay. In civil law. I will slap you now, is assault in civil law. But you actually do the slapping in civil law, it becomes battery.
Okay.
But now both that words you use and the slapping in criminal law is what we call assault. Both the words you say, I'll slap you now, and then you actually do the slapping, is what we call assault. And it's both a thought and a crime. Now, false imprisonment is the infliction of bodily restraint upon another without lawful justification. For instance, where a private person in the process of ensuring that the suspect doesn't escape causes his or her confinement. We spoke about putting him in the toilet. You go and lock him up in the toilet, or you lock him up in this studio and then leave. You say, no, until my manager back. Within an area delimited by him, and no, it doesn't escape, causes, okay, let me say, for instance, where a private person in the process of ensuring that the suspect doesn't escape causes his or her confinement within an area delimited by him. And we have the case of Onyedimma and Nite, 1997. 3 Nigeria Weekly Law, that's for the benefit of the practitioners. Onyedimma and Nite, 1997. 3 Nigeria Weekly Law Report, Part 493, page 335 by 342, L number 1, where the court considered the meaning of false imprisonment as follows. The court said, false imprisonment, as the name implies, means imprisoning or restraining or detaining, imprisoning or restraining or detaining a person falsely or unlawfully or wrongly if the person doing or causing the imprisonment has not the right in law to imprison that other. The issue is, does a private person have the law in right to put another person in a room and lock, or in the toilet and lock, or maybe even outside where there is a gate, he locked the gate. The person can actually see outside, but it's just between that gate and him is where he's restrained. Does a person that does not have a right in law, can he do that? The answer is in the negative. So once a private person does that, he has committed the thought of false imprisonment.
Okay, please, before you proceed, I think we have a question here from Sister Gladys.
Okay.
Onyabo. First, she says, very interesting and informative topic program. This year is indeed the last hope of mankind. Please throw more light on when an innocent person is accused and prosecuted for a crime committed by, for example, being friendly with a known criminal. How can one come out clean from such? That is number 1. Number 2 says, accusation without being tagged a criminal. Here abroad people with past criminal history are not allowed to walk or move freely. Their names are published for all to see or know. I think this one is not a question. She's just
she is looking at the extreme of what happens. That is, you know what in law we call that libel. That is, you have libeled that person. By the time it is published that this person, maybe the passport or whatever with the names, they have a more secure social security system. Where, for instance, if you get into US now, once they ask you your name and they key it into the system, everything about you comes up.
Yes.
So at the end of the day, once that tag goes in, it's difficult for you to get a job. It may even be difficult for you to go to school. You understand, or move freely. Anywhere, anytime they discover that that's the person that his name or photographs were published as being suspected of having committed a criminal offense. You understand? It's so damaging. You understand? So in that kind of situation, we are now looking at a situation where later on you now realize that this person did not commit that offense. And we said that at the last time I said that in Nigeria I wasn't sure, but I've now gone to see that under section 35 subsection 6, such a person is entitled to compensation, adequate compensation and public apology, as in that same media through which you tarnish his image, you still have to go back to that media to now publish and say You have now discovered that Mr. XYZ was not a suspect in so case. You understand? And then it's either you announce a compensation right there, or the person now has the right to take you to court and claim compensation, adequate compensation, for having held his entire livelihood. Okay. You understand?
Yes,
so that's what happens. I'm sure the United States government, they also have equal legislation in the United States to take care of that kind of situation.
Okay, thank you so very much. Let's proceed.
So now I said it must be noted that the thought of false imprisonment protects the right to personal liberty and freedom of movement of every citizen. Personal liberty under section 35, 34, 35, and freedom of movement under section 40 and 41 for every citizen. Note that a private person who made a report of suspicion of the commission of offense to the Nigeria police, for instance, which led to the arrest and detention of a suspect, will not be held liable for false imprisonment. Because there were such questions that what if I am the one that reported one Mr. Kun, that I'm suspecting him of dealing with Indian hemp. I reported, and then the police arrested him. And then we're investigating the matter. I cannot be held liable for false imprisonment while he is in the cell. The law will not allow that. Otherwise, a lot of people will not assist the police and other law enforcement agents in fighting crime in the society. So the law is like an immunity against those people, that you just went to the police station to report that, look, every day I'm hearing Igbo at that backyard, and the police raided that backyard and picked up somebody. You are not responsible.
Okay.
However, the position of the law is different. If the police was instigated by the private person, and worse still, if the report is found afterwards to be false and malicious, if the police is instigated, for instance, let's leave a difference. This one, the man said, I have been hearing Igbo, the smell of Igbo at my backyard every evening, and the police decided to raid that backyard, and now discovered that Mr. Kun, Mr. Effiong, and Mr. Pan have been sitting there to smoke. You are not liable for false imprisonment if he is actually arrested and detained, or they are actually arrested and detained. But if you get to the police station and mention a particular name and say every day, that is how Mr. Kun Obanetam sits at my backyard to smoke Igbo, and the police reduce it into writing. You now reduce it into writing, and because of that statement you made at the police station, they arrest that man. If it is later found out that you made a false and malicious statement against him, then you are liable for false imprisonment. That is you get the difference now.
Yes.
Now it must be seen that that statement was false, malicious, and without justification. And we have the case of Okongu against Ogbogu, 1996-37 Law Report of Courts of Nigeria, 580 as 602. Now let us see a good illustration in the case of Onyedimma and Nite, where the respondent parked his car in a neighborhood along the highway and went to work, only to return and find out that that car had been removed. To him, the car has been stolen. He made a report against the appellant. Somebody he felt stole his car, accusing him to have stolen his car, only to realize later that it was the highway patrol people that carried the car. You see that kind of situation. The highway patrol people came, the car was parked in a disorderly manner, so they carried the car away. They towed the vehicle. When he came back, he suspected somebody, that this man must have been the one that stole my car. And then he made a report at the police station. You see what I was trying to explain now?
Yes.
Mentioned a particular name. Police arrested that particular person, only for him to discover that it was highway patrol that carried the car. You understand?
Yes.
So what did the court do? The court held him liable for
infringement.
The court held him liable for false imprisonment, and then he had to pay damages to that person. Another liability of a private person who is assisting the law enforcement agents, the liability is what we call defamation.
Okay.
A private person also in the process of giving information to the police, can be liable for libel or slander if it is later discovered that the information was untrue, but justification is a complete bar to any action in libel. Now, it is libel if the information is in a written form, and slander if the words were spoken. So if you wrote it, it is libel. If you spoke, it is slander. If they were spoken aimed at injuring the reputation of the suspect, and it has to concern the imputation of a crime. For instance, you see the case of Yusuf Poof against Metro Goldwyn Mayer Pictures Limited, 1934, TLR 581. We also have the case of Farashi and Yakubu, 1970, Northern Nigeria Law Report 17, for an action for slander on allegation of adultery. You know, at the south, we have the criminal code. Then at the north of Nigeria, we have the penal code.
Okay.
Under that penal code in the north, from, like say, from Kogi State up, that is, you have penal code working there. Now, under that penal code at the north, adultery is an offense. While at the south, the criminal code does not have adultery as an offense. So now, this man now, in this Farashi and Yakubu, there was an imputation of adultery in the north. You understand?
Yes.
Now, if it was later discovered that there was no adultery between the two parties, the person that actually went to report that they committed adultery is liable for defamation, because that statement was made falsely and maliciously and without justification. And at the same time, is an imputation of crime that will have set the law in motion against the parties. You know, in the north, adultery is stoning to death.
Yes.
Yes, so he actually, that means he maliciously wanted those two to be stoned to death. So it is actionable, it is a liability, and he has to be responsible for that action by, by public apology and then compensation. So libel and slander is a liability. If at the end of the day you shouted thief, 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 and they ran after the young man or the young woman, later discovered that it was done maliciously and falsely. Another liability of a private person in assisting the law enforcement agents is what we call malicious prosecution. In malicious prosecution, a private person who instituted or caused to be instituted a criminal prosecution against a suspect can be held liable for malicious prosecution in the following circumstances. One of them is that the private person caused him to be prosecuted. He's actually a witness in court.
Yeah.
Thank you. That the prosecution terminated in his favor. He actually went to court. He reported the matter in the police station. They charged the young man or the young woman for the offense. He actually joined in testifying at the court as a witness. Don't forget I mentioned a tainted witness.
Yes.
So in this case, what will you call him? A tainted witness. Okay. Because he has some interest to serve. The interest he has to serve is to ensure that that person is punished. So he's a tainted witness. So he joined in the prosecution, testified, and now at the end of the day, the prosecution terminated in favor of the accused. Don't forget that once his name is, the charge sheet is ready, he becomes an accused. He's no longer a suspect. Now, there was no reasonable cause for the prosecution. Those are the conditions where the person will be held liable for malicious prosecution. There was no reasonable cause for the prosecution, and that the defendant, that is the witness now, acted with malice, maliciously. He did that to get at that person, and that this accused person has suffered damage to his person, property, and reputation. Under that kind of circumstance, the person that set that law in motion will be held for malicious prosecution. He will be responsible for malicious prosecution. He will pay damages. He will give public apology. So that is why one has to be sure in giving information to the police that he has enough evidence to back up his claim. Because when the police come, they work with evidence. How did you know he committed this offense? You tell. They charge the matter to court, you defend. You have enough evidence. But if at the end of the day it is being found out that at the end that he was discharged, let's even assume that you even have the evidence, and then there is no law that makes that an offense. You understand?
Yes.
It's just like saying someone is a troublemaker. There is no law that makes troublemaking, in quote, an offense. You get, there must be something, the trouble, what trouble, did he fight? You understand? Did he kill? Those are the offenses under law. Did he defraud anyone? But if you say he's a troublemaker and then you report the matter and then you go to the court and then the court now rules that under the law of Nigeria there is no punishment for a troublemaker. If the person comes back, he can sue you for malicious prosecution. Now, payment of compensation to persons whose rights have been unlawfully derogated or infringed. We cited the case of, we cited section 36, section 35, subsection 6 of the 1999 Constitution, that a person who is unlawfully arrested and detained shall be entitled to compensation and public apology from the appropriate authority or person. That means that the government is involved. You understand?
Yes.
The government is involved. So if it is police that join in prosecuting the person, police will also pay compensation. And this.
Before you proceed, I have a question.
Please do.
I have a question. Is there anything? Okay, I'd like you, Barrister Idarebo, to do justice to this. Is there anything like reporting a case to the police and then begging to be anonymous?
Well, most often, even the police normally say so, especially in very serious offenses. Yes. At times you hear that somebody has been killed and the police will go on air and even says whoever reports or have good information concerning that crime that may lead to the arrest of the suspects will be compensated with 5 million, and the police are not going to disclose the name. Okay. It is possible. Okay. Even there are times that somebody testified in courts, but the court will not allow such testimony to be in public. Okay. Actually, the suspect will be there while the trial is going on. So such situations, there are situations that warrant, especially where the offense affects public. That if I beat somebody, if I assault somebody, it's a minor issue. But if I now take my gun to go and kill the governor, or to create unnecessary problem in society, that the magnitude of that offense, if the society does not move ahead to checkmate it, it may create a bigger problem for the society. So there are situations that police will say, okay, to make sure that such problem is being thwarted, whoever will give a report, we are not going to disclose the identity of that person. Okay. It is applicable.
Okay, thank you very much. I needed to know this because we live in Nigeria. I see some people go behind people. You know, you're talking to somebody, you don't know that the person has gone, you trust the person.
No,
you confide so much in the person, but the person goes behind your back.
Yeah,
to report, you know, to the police that you're actually doing this, and then we'll go into hiding, or we'll even follow you to the same police station to say you did not do it. But then even the police knows that you actually laid this complaint, but because you are begged to be anonymous.
No, what I wanted to add to that was, you know, during the last government, if I want to start from there, the last administration, that is the Buhari administration.
Yes.
There was what we call whistleblower for the government, a whistleblower. The whistleblower's job is to find out whether maybe someone stole money. You understand? When they started recovering monies from apartments, you remember that?
Yes.
They were whistleblowers, people that said, Mr. Okone Temapan withdrew $10 million yesterday. and then the police comes after him, maybe just search his house or apartment or office, and then they recover that money. Those people that gave that information are whistleblowers, and they were actually given a percentage. So if you make us recover 2 billion naira, we will give you 5% of that 2 billion. They will not mention your name. Then there are situations if they are now writing it in a maybe in a newspaper. That's I'm answering your question now.
Yes.
They say names withheld. Name, that is names withheld. That is the name of the person that gave the information are withheld. But that is the position, but the person's name are withheld. There are, like he rightly said, there are circumstances where they now say, if at the end of it we can pull through with this and get to the end of it and then get the real offender in this circumstance, we will pay you this. In those kind of circumstances, those names may not be announced. But we are now looking at a situation where at the end of the day, the police found out that the information you gave was with malice.
It means the person will be brought to the public, right?
Yes, they will now the person will now be will be brought to book, and the circumstance of his being charged, you understand, for giving false information. That is when we will now know that he gives false information about the prosecution of Mr. James and Mr. Pan. It is at that point, because when they now discover that the information he gave was false, he will be charged for giving the government or the police false information.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes.
Let's proceed.
Yes, so I was talking about the earlier case that I cited under section 35 subsection 6. I had already cited the case of IGP Ambelo, 2023 1 Nigeria Weekly Law Report Part 1865, 265 and 278 holding 7. Then I also have the Court of Appeal, where the Court of Appeal upheld the award of 5 million damages for unlawful arrest and detention of the respondent. The respondent was a legal practitioner. Somebody called him at the police training college at Ilorin. So when he went there, the police beat him up and put him in an inhuman and degrading treatment for coming to ask for a suspect. So when he got out of the situation, he sued the Inspector General of Police and other people. There are about other 4 respondents. He sued them, and that at the lower court he was awarded the 5 million naira. So these people who became uncomfortable, they went to the Court of Appeal. They appealed against that judgment, and then the Court of Appeal still uphold and confirmed the fact that section 35 subsection 6 say when you arrest and detain a person unlawfully, is entitled to compensation and public apology. We also have the case of First Bank of Nigeria PLC against Attorney General of the Federation. That's for the benefit of the practitioners. 2018 7 Nigeria Weekly Law Report Part 1617, page 121 at page 317. So those are the liabilities that a private person who is working and assisting the government in fighting crime, if you don't do it well, those are the liability. I had said it's not even done. You can either become an accessory after the fact, you can become an accomplice, you can be charged for conspiracy. You understand? For instance, in the army, there is a coup going on, for instance, and then the other person did not report that, look, oh, there is a planned coup, you understand, and then maybe the coup fails, and then it is the court martial now finds out that Mr. Kohn or Mr. Etam or Mr. Pan had information, you understand, that there was going to be a coup. He will be charged for conspiracy, you understand, for not giving that information. He has become an accomplice, he has become an accessory after the fact, he has become a co-conspirator. It will be taken that his silence was so that he will get benefit if the coup succeeded, you understand. So those are some of the liabilities of the private person. And for the benefit of the doubt, we've talked about assault, we've talked about false imprisonment,
Yes.
we have talked about malicious prosecution, we have talked about libel, that is defamation, we have talked about payment of compensation and public apology. you could also be charged for an offense in the process. Like we're talking about keeping the person and the person dies before he could be transported to the police station. Those people can be charged for that offense. So at the end of the day, the correct thing to happen by a private person in the arrest and prosecution of offender is to hand over the suspect immediately to a law enforcement agent who have the authority to meddle with them in the way and manner that is allowed by law. Thank you.
Thank you too. Thank you so very much. Do you have anything to add to that?
Well, I don't think time will permit us, but I think we have to look at the fundamental rights of an accused person.
Okay.
As I said earlier, the law is check and balances. At times you now see somebody that's been arrested for murder. The person may intentionally or not kill another person. But during trial, the person could not afford a service of a legal practitioner. The state will now provide him a legal practitioner. Somebody that killed, somebody that took arms to go and kill another person, armed robbery or murder. You now see the government now paying a lawyer out of government purse to defend an accused person. What that entails that an accused person has fundamental human right, and the presumption of law is except the court convicts, that person standing trial is innocent. That's what section 35 sub 5 of the Constitution provides. That a person that is standing trial is presumed to be innocent. And being innocent, all is right as provided for by chapter 4 of the Constitution. That is starting from section 33 to 41 of the Constitution must be obeyed. The police, the courts, every individual has no right to infringe on these rights. One, like some of these rights are, I'm arrested. The law expects the police within 24 hours to furnish me the reason I am being arrested in writing. An arrested person has right to remain silent, even in courts, even when he's being tried in courts.
Okay.
If he decides not to say anything, it is his constitutional right not to defend himself.
Standing mute.
The person that is being arrested must be brought before a court or competent jurisdiction within specific time. Like we did say the other time, if the court is within 40 kilometers, 24 hours, 48 hours if it's more than that. So the police has no right to detain somebody indefinitely. At times you see somebody being detained 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It's still a suspect. So there are rights he or she is entitled to. Then section 36 talks about fair hearing.
Okay.
On the process of being arraigned, being suspected that I've committed a crime, the state must allow me to say my own, to give evidence, to make sure that I talk so that I will tell the court that I've not done it this way or the other way. So that it's not just that because there's even when suppose I kill somebody now, they take me to court. The court will not say, okay, except I confess that I do it. Even when I confess. So they will not say, because you kill somebody, go to prison or death sentence. The court must definitely hear from me. And in the process, the court, suppose I don't understand English, or the trial language used by the court is my fundamental right, part of my fundamental right for the court to provide me with interpreter free of charge. Part of that right is the legal practitioner free of charge if need be. So even when somebody is alleged to have committed a crime, with the presumption of law that that person is still innocent except convicted by the court, all the rights, interpreter, legal representative, time limit of detention, free access to legal practitioner of his choice, except there's any law that restrain that legal practitioner from practicing in Nigeria, so like the person has not been called to bar in Nigeria. So even if I have a friend that is a lawyer, that probably is a Nigerian that studied outside the country, but he has not been called to bar in Nigeria, I cannot bring that one to represent me, because that one, such a legal practitioner is handicapped to practice law in Nigeria. But anything outside that, if the state provide a legal practitioner for me, I say no, don't want it. Despite the fact that I've killed somebody,
you still have rights.
I still have right to choose a legal practitioner of my choice.
What happens if you don't get any choice? They tell you are being offered
range of legal practitioners.
Exactly.
Yes.
Then you have no choice. What happens?
If among all the ones provided for me by the states, then I say no, I don't want. No, so some people may be suspect that that legal practitioner that's being brought by the state will definitely stand with the state for me to be convicted. They say no, I don't want it. In such a situation, you have to now look for a legal practitioner of your choice and bear the cost. Because the state have done our own by making.
Is there a time frame
to provide a legal practitioner?
Yes.
No, actually there's no time frame, but whatever happens, the state will give you time.
Yeah, maybe the time frame I'm talking about, because some people can be very cunning in the aspect of bringing, because they are waiting for you.
Yes.
So you keep postponing, you keep telling them that you've not found the one you want yet. What happens in that?
You cannot postpone indefinitely.
Okay.
You cannot postpone indefinitely. If at the end you fail to provide legal protection of your choice, suppose it's manslaughter.
Okay.
You go ahead. The court will go ahead and try the matter.
Okay, that's what I wanted to hear. Okay, proceed.
So those are. Then I did talk about facilities to defend. The facility like the alleged offense I have committed, the state will give me what we mean by charge. I'm entitled to the copy of the charge filed in court. Any materials I may need is the duty of the state. When I say the state, if it's presented by the police or by the Attorney General of any state or by the Attorney General of the Federation or any law enforcement agencies, they are all grouped under the states. They are to provide me with materials for me to defend myself. If I seek permission that, sorry, today I'm very sure I cannot defend myself, they will adjourn the matter for me. Even somebody that is standing trial and is not well, in certain situations, like some things that may not be bearable, the state will move ahead to make sure that it's taken to clinic to be treated so that it can be fit to stand his trial.
Okay.
Those are part of the rights of an accused person. So even when one is being accused, say that person is he has killed somebody, he has committed felony against the state or whatnot, all his rights is, as provided by the Constitution, is intact.
Okay,
I don't
thank
know why
you.
my colleague has more to add.
Yeah, what I would have loved to add is that in the commission of an offense, you know, there are certain situations where people that maybe they committed an offense, and maybe because they have a political score, maybe with the government in power, and then they will like now make a law. They will now make a law. The person committed the offense yesterday. It was a case of 3 years imprisonment. They now turn around to make a law today that that offense he committed yesterday, which is standing trial, is now a death sentence offense. We call it retrospective law. It is against the constitution for the government to now make a retrospective law in order to hold somebody that committed an offense that was, you know, for a lesser offense of yesterday. And like he has rightly pointed out, a defendant, you know, he should be given an opportunity also to call witnesses, like we're trying to explain.
Yeah.
He should be given an opportunity to call witness. If you say he stole and he said he didn't steal, we even spoke about alibi. In that case, he now said, I was in school as at the time they're even talking about. Okay, I was in London. You know, that's a good alibi. I was in London as at the time they're even talking about, and you know, he can bring his visa and then the way bill that he came back from London just now, you know, to show. Those are some of the rights, and the only way that right he can get that right is by giving him enough opportunity to prepare for his defense.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So I think another thing that is there is another issue is that inhuman treatment. That's another issue. You know, maybe you get to the police station, they are beaten blue, black, they are tortured, the iron is used or whatever, you know, they burn them in order to confess. Under section 34 of the 1999 constitution, that is not allowed.
Dignity of human person.
The dignity of the human person must be preserved, except by, as provided under section 33 of the 1999 constitution, which talks about taking away the life of the person by due process of law. And when we talk about due process of law, we are talking about a judgment being delivered, and then the judge now said that you are sentenced to death, you understand, by hanging, and may the Lord have mercy on your soul. That is the judgment of a court. And even upon that, that high court judgment is subject to appeal to the court of appeal. So that doesn't mean that immediately a high court has delivered the judgment, you understand, they will just, at least time has to, you know, time has to pass.
Yes.
Maybe after 3 months the person didn't appeal against the judgment. But if he appealed, they will allow it. He will get to the court of appeal. If they finish and the person is still dissatisfied, they will allow it to get to the Supreme Court. If they all confirm the judgment, that is when the person will now face the sentence that the court had delivered some years ago or some months ago. So those are the little things I would have loved to.
Thank you very much. We're running out of time. I think you still have another question here by Sister Gladys Onyabo. I think we're gradually coming to an end to this topic, to the end of this topic. So lastly, we have, I think this is to you, what are the teachings of our Holy Father concerning obedience to law, constituted authority, and against crime and criminality? So here, Sister Gladys Onyabo says, accusation without being tagged a criminal. I think she is resending this. Okay, I think she just had to resend it to...
It's okay. So, talking about the Father's teachings, with the little time that we have, let us look at the provisions of Matthew chapter 5, verse 25 to 26. Let's start with that. That gospel says, agree with your adversary quickly while you are on the way with him. It says, agree with your adversary quickly while you are on the way with him, lest your adversary will deliver you to the judge. The judge will hand you over to the officer, and you'll be thrown into prison. Assuredly, I say to you, you will by no means get out of there till you have paid the last penny. Matthew chapter 5, verse 5 to 20, verse 25 to 26. That's what it says. Now, if we go to Romans 13, we will see the gospel of the Father, where it says, let's get to Romans 13 and see what it says. 13 chapter 13 verse 1 to 14. It says, let every soul be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and the authorities that exist are appointed by God. Therefore, whoever resists the authority resists the ordinance of God, and those who resist will bring judgment upon themselves. For rulers are not terror to good works, but to evil. Do you want to be unafraid of the authority? Then do what is good. You will have praises from the same authority. If you read it down, you will see up to the end. I think that Romans chapter 13 talks about that every soul should be subject to governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and the authorities that exist are appointed by God. Then we look at Titus chapter 3 verse 1. It says, remind them to be subject to rulers and authorities, to obey, and to be ready for every good work. That is what Titus chapter 3 verse 1 says. And then if we go a lot more down, you will find out that most of the crimes and criminality are born out of idleness. And then if you look at 2 Thessalonians chapter 3 verse 10 to 12, it says, even while we wait with you, that's Paul writing, we gave you this command, that if anyone will not work, neither should he eat. For we hear that there are some who walk among you in disorderly manner, not working at all. Who walk among you in disorderly manner, not working. That's the difference. Not working at all, but are busybodies. Now those who are such we command and exhort through our Lord Jesus Christ. They are begging them with the name of our Lord Jesus Christ that they should work in quietness and eat their own bread. That is what 2 Thessalonians chapter 3 verse 10 to 12 has to say. Paul is telling the people of Thessalonica that even while they were with you, they gave that commandment that everybody should look for something and do. Don't just sit down and gossip. Look for something and do that. If you work, you have what to eat. And then if you look at Proverbs chapter 16 verse 27 to 29, it said, idle hands are the devil's workshop. Idle hands. Idle lips are his mouthpiece. The devil's mouthpiece is idle lips. We know what the effect of gossip. He said, an evil man sows strife. An evil man, an idle man sows strife. Gossip separates the best of friends. Wickedness loves company. That is why you find out that in the morning, everybody has gone to work. Look, I'll just watch them. They will look for somebody to sit down and gossip. They will, yeah, but that's the truth.
Right.
They cannot just sit down. They will bang, bang, bang. Did you hear just most times most of these things they say are lies. They are just looking for one place to another to go. Maybe by the time they get there, the man was cooking small rice and they keep down and say everything so that the rice will be shared. It's a useless kind of life. Very useless. You understand?
Yes,
and the Bible in Proverbs 16, 27 to 29 said, idle hands are the devil's workshop. The idle lips are his mouthpiece. An evil man sows strife. Gossip separates the best of friends. Wickedness loves company and leads others into sin. That is why if you go to 1 Corinthians chapter 10 verse 33, it said, evil communication corrupts good manners. So by the time the person comes and then he starts talking about people, because definitely it's about, people that have maybe have even advised him to go and look for something and do that he will be talking about. He will be so offended about them. So those are the teachings of the Father, that we should not be idle. We should look for something, some work to do, and then be able to feed ourselves. And then don't forget that if you go down the Bible, I think in Romans, it says that faith without work is dead.
Yes.
And it says that the man that cannot take care of his family is worse than an infidel and has denied the faith. No child of God. You see, if you look at the Bible, you remember that woman that gave a farthing. And God said she's the one that gave the highest. God is not interested in your millions. But the little that you sweat for and then give, that's what God wants. There are days of humble beginnings. You understand? As the other man is given 300,000, 500,000, your 1,000 naira that you suffered for is what God wants. You understand? Yes. But you realize that even in the house of God, these are the people that create the problem. These are the people that knows the source of your income. You see that, hey, he has come to give 300,000 now. He's into this. So
he's showing off.
He's showing off now. After doing Yahoo, he's coming to church to show off. I don't know if you get it. Yeah, but you now go sit back. This man does nothing. You now sit back. It is not the duty of a wife to feed a man. The duty of the wife is to manage the home. When God shared, work responsibilities in the Bible in Genesis, is it chapter 3 or thereabout? It says that through the sweat, through your sweat you shall eat. But for the woman, it says that it is during childbirth that you shall feel pain. So it is the job of the man to go out. And you find out that majority of the crimes are committed by the men. Majority are committed by the men. And the only reason why it is the men that commit is because of frustration. Frustration of inability to provide food in the house. Because that is what God expects you to do. Any man that cannot provide for his family is always very angry. Just watch him. He's very angry. But from the day he can provide, that anger is gone.
Becomes very happy.
Yes, he becomes a very happy person.
Okay, because of time, let me also ask you. God is against persecution. I feel like he is against you locking up your brother. That is why he preaches about forgiveness. Forgive one another. He says vengeance is of God. Yes. Do not take the laws into your hands. Allow everything to God. So why then do people, and why do we even have barristers in the kingdom?
Yes, you see, the gospel of the Father, people understand gospel differently. The same God that set up government, the structure, He puts people in different authorities and give this division of work. So, it is true that God says we should forgive and forget.
Yes.
That is quite true. How do we maintain the society? God has placed people in the society to regulate our activities. Even when Lucifer rebelled against God in heaven, God had to send him away. And the government of this world is copying that example. Okay. People that misbehave should be shown the way out so that others should learn a lesson. So, is people's understanding of the Bible that is the issue.
And now you've made it very clear now.
Yes.
That we are copying what happened, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Even our Lord Jesus Christ rebuked some of his disciples. So it is normal, in as much as God has created the government in this world, and the duty of the government is to take care of all of us. So any indisciplined human being, the government knows where to place them. It's still the work of God. It's still the work of God. Thus they must be disciplined. God himself is a disciplined person.
Exactly, you're right.
So
obviously.
So the society should be disciplined.
Okay.
Then the reason we have barristers in the kingdom, there are two things. I used to say that there are two things in this world: God and word.
Okay.
The duty of barristers in the kingdom is to help the kingdom in some circumstances to interpret the word outside the Bible. God does the biblical interpretation. But the other aspect of the words or written documents is left for the barrister. That's their duty.
Judgment, right?
Not necessarily judgment. That is where people make a lot of mistakes about legal practitioners. Not necessarily judgment. Even when you go to corporate affairs to register brotherhood, there will be one or two clauses that you may not understand, and that is where there is division of labor. Just like you are here, you have your own special duty. I may not be able to perform your duty. So the legal practitioners in the kingdom are equally performing their own duty, because the field is so wide and there are so many different types of works. We cannot be specialists in every field.
Yeah, you're right. Thank you so very much. We are running out of time. In fact, we have run out of time. So I want to say a very big thank you. Tina Vincent says, very educative program. Thank you so much for watching. I think we've come to the end of the topic, the role of private persons in the arrest and prosecution of offenders under the law. I hope you've learned a lot, because I have learned a lot. I'm telling you for a fact, there are a lot of things I did not know, but right now I think I know, even though I don't know all, like all the subsection. Seriously, I really cannot wrap my head around
all the sections.
Yes, but I have learnt the ones they want me to know, because I know I kept asking Barrister Kenneth to, review some things inside those subsections, and he said it's not for me. So yeah, I have learnt the ones yes, the ones they want me to know, and you and I to know, we have learnt. Thank you so much for watching. May the Father bless you abundantly, and to you, thank you so much for always coming and impacting us with this knowledge we had no idea about. And to you, Sister Gladys Onyabo, thank you so much for always watching. You all are amazing. I think we've come to the end of this program yesterday. Till we come your way next time, remain blessed. My name is Ruth Obu. Remain blessed.
God